What's up guys, welcome to another C programming tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be doing something called arrays. Now to explain arrays I thought I'll just use this image using the paint. That'll explain it better. So let me just tell you what arrays are. And array is nothing but it's just a group of memory location. As you can see here, it's just a group of memory locations related by the fact that they all have the same name and they are all of the same type. So I've not written the type over here. I'll just assume that these all are ends. And by the way, I'm sorry if it looks a little bad, but it's okay. So if you want to specify, or if you want to refer to a particular location, what you can do is you can use these the numbers you can see within the square braces. So these are nothing but these are called the position numbers, or formally they are called the subscript, or most of the time index. Okay, so 0 1 2 3, whatever you see here, these are nothing but the index of the array. Okay, so I've named my array as A, and these are its subscript or index numbers starting from 0 till 8. So this is an array of 9 elements. Okay, it is starting from 0 ending till 8. So this is an array of 9 elements. Any one of these elements may be referred by giving a name of the array followed by its index number. And the first element, it is basically called the 0th element, as you can guess that the index number for this is 0. So this is called 0th element. You can also point to an array using integer expression. Like for example, if I say a and the and this square braces, I'll just write a plus b, where a is 2 and b is 3. So that would represent an to this one, fifth one. Okay, a of 5, because 2 plus 3 is 5, so that would represent a of 5. So it'll print out this element 6. So to print out a separate element, what you have to do is you'll have to write printf, then %d, or whichever data type you take. I've assumed here as integer, so that'll be d, and you can just use this name, element name, individual element name, saying a of 6 for this. Okay, and you can perform individual arithmetic operation expressions. So I'll say if x is a variable and it stores half of whatever is there in the 7th element. Okay, so it will be a7 and by 2. What this would do, this would take this one 8, it'll divide it by 2 and store 4 inside x. So you can individually take the elements and do other things. Okay, so arithmetic operators. And now let's minimize it. There are a lot of ways to define an array. For example, if I want an array of integers, I'll just write int, then I'll just name it as C, and inside the curly braces, if I write 12, what that means is this is an array of integer type, and I've named it as C, and it'll have 12 elements. Once again, so what computer does is it'll allocate memory for this array, which will have 12 elements as I showed you in the block. So it'll allocate memory for 12 elements. Okay, so this is one way of defining an array. Now if you want two arrays, what you can do is you can keep this thing same. There's no need to go to another line and type int. Well, that's another option, but you can do it in a better way. You can just type another name. I'll just put 100. So what this will do is this will also be an array which will store 100 elements, and it'll be of the same type as integer. Okay, so no, these are the two ways, but these are the two ways of defining an array. Now there's another way of defining an array. We'll do that using a program. Now about defining the elements in an array, so let's take an array which will be of integer type, and I'll just take the name as n, and it'll store just 5 elements. Okay, not too big. So now one way to define it is you can go one by one. You can take n of 0, you can equate it to 1, and then again you can take n of the first position, the array in the first position, then you can store 23 or whatever value. Now if you have to do it this way, it'll be pretty lengthy. So say if you have an array that stores 50 elements, so you can't go through this each time. It'll work. Okay, I'll just show you. It'll still work. N, this will work. So as you can see, the value of a of 0, we have stored it as 1. There's another way, as I told you, to define an array. It'll be, instead of using n of 0, n of 1 and all to define an array, what you can do is you can use these curly braces, and what this will do is it'll define by itself. So if I put 32, the value of this would go into n of 0. If I store 22, it would be in n of 1, and so on and so forth. 0, 3, so I'll put 65, and there are 4, so I need one more value. I'll just put it as 8. So what this does is this will assign values to n of 0, n of 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 5 elements from n of 0 to n of 4, and it will store the values. So we don't have to use to use it as n of 0 equal to 1, not individually. Okay, so now let's just make a small table. Okay, so I'll just write printf %s for, we'll be using a string. We'll just name it elements and its respective values. So, and remember %13s, what this would do is this would just give out space, 13 characters space, and we'll just call it, we have just called it element and value. Okay, so now let's use for loop. So I've just used a for loop which will loop through all the 5 elements in this. So okay, so let's just go. I've just used less than, because if I'd used I equal to 5, it would have looped 6 times. So this was better. You can also use I as 1 at the initial stage. Okay, now I'll just put a bit of space. I can say 4 characters space for that element integer, and I'll take, as I use 13 character space here, so I'll just use 13 character space for the other set of values, and I'll just print it in a new line each time. So it'll be I and n of I. Okay, so what this would do is it'll just, like, if the value of n is 0, so I would be 0, and n of 0, it'll point to this element. I'll just show you. Build and run. I forgot to define the integer int I. Yeah, now let's just build and run it. As you can see, neat and clean table. So what this will do is, now I'll just show you with this loop. So I of 0, okay, I of 0, it'll printf, as you're given 4 character space, it'll print out 4 character space, and then it'll print out the value of I, which is 0 now, so it'll print out 0. Next, it'll go to this one. I is 0, so n of 0, it'll point to this element 32, and it'll print it out right over here, 32. Okay, so similarly, it'll go to I becomes 1, it'll print out 1 over here, then n of 1 is 22, so it'll print out 22. Similarly, n of 2, which is 11, it'll print out 11, and so on and so forth for all the 5 elements that we have chosen. So this is the way you can define an element. Now let's just see what happens if I put a 0 over here. I'll just build and run it. Oh, look at it. Now what this did was it automatically value 0 to the 0th element, n of 0, and so there were no other elements to put in, so it gave away all the values of 0 to all the rest of the elements. So that is how you initialize an array, and you also learned another thing, to make a table. Okay. What this does is, this method of initializing the array elements to 0, it is performed at the compile time error for static arrays, and at the runtime error for automatic arrays. We'll discuss about static arrays and automatic arrays after a couple of tutorials. There's another way you can initialize your array. For example, if you don't know how many elements to store in it, so you can just leave it blank, and you can just type any values. It would still work. Okay, so I'll just put this and this. Now if I just build and run it, it would still print out properly. Okay, what this did was it just created an array automatically for you. It just filled this gap by itself with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. Okay, so now let's take up another example on arrays itself. I'll just clean this up. I've just written down the whole program for you to save a bit of time. So now what I've done here is just something new, which you would see here. And what this does is, well, this is nothing but a preprocessor. We'll do a whole lot of tutorial on preprocessor in the upcoming levels. So for now, just think that what this will do is wherever it'll see this symbolic constant named size, it'll replace that by 10. Okay. Now this is important because suppose you have a bigger application, so you can't go everywhere. Like your size, you'll change it to 10, you'll go again over here, you'll change it to 10 or 20, whatever it is. So it'll become a big headache. This is a simpler way to do it, to save a hell lot of time. This is nothing but a constant, and make sure when you're making a constant, keep it in capital letters. Okay, that's a good programming practice. Now coming to the program, what this would do is I've just made an array of I've just named it as Ash. Okay, and I've just put size over here. So what this would do is this would go over here what size is. So I'll check over here. Oh, size means 10. So what this would do is this would create an array of 10 elements. Okay, then I've taken an integer j for my for loops, and what this for loop would do is I'll just build and run and then walk you through that. Okay, now you see a nice table over here. Okay, so what this did was it just assigned the value 0. So j was 0, so ash of 0, that would represent to the 0th element. Okay, the 0th element of the array. So 0th element of the array will be assigned this the value which comes out of this mathematical operation. So what this would do is j is 0, 0 into 2 is 0, plus 1 is 1. So a of 0 is been assigned the value 1. Similarly, if j is 1, 2 into 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, so 3 would be given to a of 1. And similarly to a of 9, you take it. So if the value of j is 9, 2 into 9 is 18, 18 plus 1 is 19, so a of 9 will have the value of 19. It'll come out of this loop after that. And then we have just taken variable, we have just given the name, elements, and values. And make sure when you're making a string, don't forget these double quotes over here, or you'll run through an error. So what this did was it just named elements, and after 15 characters space, I just put value over here. So to make it look nice, make it look like a nice table. So I've used another for loop. This for loop will just print out the values. It'll just assign the values for the elements, and their respective values of the array will be printed under the value. Okay, so what this did was it just made a 4-character space at the beginning to print out the element name from 0 till the size. I've just chosen less than size. Okay, now note here I've just taken less than the size. If I had taken less than or equal to size, it would have looped through 11 times, but we just have 10 characters. Okay, so in the next, what this did was it just left 18 characters space from here, and we just printed out the values of the array. Okay, so guys, I hope you liked it. If you have any doubts, please leave a comment below on YouTube. Okay? I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.